Hi, I'm Katie, and I'm going to be doing the next episode of the Dear Future MSTC project, and my episode is going to be about making a college list. So I'm going to be going to Florida State University in the fall, and I'm going to be doing the first year abroad program in London, England. So I'm going to tell a little bit of my story and how I made my decisions, and then I'll probably branch out and talk a little bit more about what kinds of decisions you guys should consider whenever you're making your college list. So for me, my college list was strictly UK for almost 3 months of senior year. So I did not apply early for any schools other than UK because I was completely set on it. And obviously I didn't end up going, and that'll be a different episode talking about how I made that decision and everything like that. But my college list was completely reliant on location. So I knew I wanted to live somewhere warm. I knew I wanted something fun, a place that was near the beach. I knew I wanted to change. Now, for my first 3 months of senior year, I was fully set on going to Kentucky, and I had a big life change in my personal life, and I ended up thinking, wow, I really do need this growth in my life, and I really do need to push myself so that I can become a better person. And in my mind, whenever I thought about college, the only way that I knew I could grow is if I really pushed myself out there and went somewhere exotic and applied places that I would dream, I could never even dream of being at. And looking back at it now, I am so proud of myself that I picked a school that was, definitely a big step for me. I have always lived here. And I think that that's definitely a big factor that you guys should consider whenever you're making your college list. If you, whenever you imagine yourself in college, do you see yourself with a small group of close friends that you've known for a long time? That is a small community. Everybody's really close-knit. You're very open with your professors. They're really close to you. They know you. Or do you want to be in a school where you have 50,000 people that you can find and be friends with, and you're going to find your people, you're going to have fun, bigger class sizes, you're not going to be as close with your professor, you're going to have a lot more friends, but maybe not intimate close friends. It's going to feel a little bit different than MSTC has always been 50 people where you're always talking to the same people. So for me, I knew I wanted a big location, big school, lots of people, lots of fun. So when I made my list, I've picked schools that I loved the location of, and campuses that were really pretty. So another thing I considered was also the credits. So whenever you're doing your college research, definitely look at what AP credits they're going to accept, because if you can get enough credits, you can finish college quicker. At UK, I know most people end up going for 3 years and they can finish their undergrad. So it's definitely something to look into whenever you're making your list. And it's okay to apply to schools where maybe they're not going to take as much credit, but that's definitely something that you should consider and think about whenever you're applying to these schools. Another thing I would look at, I don't think that should be a top consideration just because I know how everybody's parents are in MSTC. I know exactly how it feels, but prestige doesn't mean everything. It's really nice to go to a school that's top ranked, and it's really nice to be able to say that you go somewhere like that, but that shouldn't be the only reason that you're applying to a school. If you don't think a school is going to be able to fit you, then you don't need to apply there just because of the prestige. If you don't want to go to a very big school, maybe don't apply to big SECs, stuff like that. If you want a really, really nice school, you can, but you don't think you'd fit the small community or the big community, whatever it is, you don't need to apply there just because it's a good school. I mean, and I completely understand if you did. A lot of my friends, they all applied to probably 20 schools. For me, I ended up applying to about 8, and all of mine were based on some prestige, just because I did want to go to a good, at least a good school, and some scholarship opportunities, what kind of courses they were going to accept, and looking at what major I wanted. I've always known I wanted to do dentistry. My research project was dentistry. Everything I wanted to do has always been dentistry. So I knew I wanted to major in biology or health sciences or something like that. So all the schools I applied to, I made sure they had something that would be able to get me into dental school. So FSU has a really easy transition from FSU to UF Dental School, or I could do a PA route, stuff like that. Looking at like what your future career, like what your university can do to better your chances of getting to your future career is definitely a really big thing to consider. Even though if you're not completely set on what you're going to do, that doesn't matter as much. But we all know some schools are known for better biology programs than others, or some schools are known for engineering programs or research, stuff like that. For me, I didn't really consider like research opportunities. I wasn't a huge fan of being in the lab, but a lot of my friends wanted to go to schools that had really good research institutes that you could easily find a lab and start working in and just start getting that experience like right off the bat. And I definitely think that is something that you should definitely consider, because while I loved working in my lab, it's not something that I cared about having like a prestigious like research school. But for some people that means a lot, and you can definitely make some like really good findings, and it can really help you with your major if you're working with like a professor. And since you have the 2 years of experience already, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to be able to get into labs because you already have 2 years under your belt. So that's definitely a big thing to consider. So top 4 things to consider: location, rigor of classes, prestige, but that should be like the lowest that you consider, and then what courses they're going to accept, and then the size of the school. So like courses that they're going to accept, it's okay if they're not going to accept like everything, but it's definitely really nice to have a head start. You're going to already have so many math credits, so many English credits, all of this stuff. Like if you're able to get that transferred, that's great. And I know for the Florida schools, I don't know if the other schools do this, you have to submit like this thing called STARS, which is where you have to like type in every single grade you've ever gotten. And while it's really tedious, it definitely helps with the admissions process because they're going to know exactly what grades you have, and it's going to be put in the format that they want to see it in. It's not just going to be like your high school transcript. Like for me, I ended up submitting my high school transcript later on after I had gotten into my Florida schools. Some states don't do that. It just depends on where you're applying. But definitely looking at what courses they might accept is always great. Like sometimes they're not going to take a 3. They're only going to take 4s or 5s. Most of the time they're going to take 4s and 5s. You don't have to have a perfect 5 on an exam. But it's definitely something to consider just to try and get your credits up. But yeah, top 4 things, as I already said, just make sure it's places that you can see yourself going and you can see yourself finding a lot of growth there. But other than that, that is everything I have to say about making a college list. And don't stress yourself out too much about where you're going to apply. It's all going to work out in the end, even if it doesn't feel like it right now and it might feel really stressful. But just take a deep breath and think about the little things that's going to make you happy and go with your gut. Bye!